80 people were asked if they owned a pet. 30 had dogs, 25 had cats, 10 had other pets, 15 had no pets. Complete the pie chart to show this information. So we know that 25 had cats, so that's 25 out of the 80 people. So we can write that as the fraction 25 over 80. But on our bar chart, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. So we need to find an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 8. Now 80 divided by 10 is 8. And if we divide 25 by 10, that would give us 2.5. And normally we can't have a decimal within a fraction. But that does tell us that we need 2.5, so 2.5 of these sections. So we know that the section for cats must be this section here, because that's 1, 2.5 of another one. And we know that 10 had no other pets, so that's 10 out of the 80 people. And if we simplify that, or change it to an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 8, we have 1/8. And that makes sense because we have one part of our pie chart left. So that part is for other pets. Use these measurements to complete the sentences below. So we need to know what the radius, diameter, and circumference of a circle could be. So if we have a circle, the diameter is the distance from one side to the opposite side. So the diameter is a line that goes through the center of a circle. And then the radius is the distance from the center of a circle to the edge. And the radius doesn't have to be going down like we have here. So we could draw the radius up here, because any distance from the center to the edge of a circle will be the same. So the radius is any distance from the center to the edge. And similarly, the diameter doesn't have to be horizontal. We could have a vertical or a diagonal diameter as well, because as long as you've got the 2 points on the edge and a line that goes through the middle of the circle, you have the diameter. Now the circumference is the distance all the way around the outside of a circle. So the circumference is like the perimeter of a circle. So the radius will be the shortest distance, so we can have a radius of 4 centimeters, and then the diameter will always be double the radius, so double 4 is 8, so we need to use 8 centimeters, and then the circumference, so the distance around the outside, will be the largest value, so that's 25 centimeters. Anne makes a pattern of L shapes with sticks. Anne says, I find the number of sticks for a shape by first multiplying the shape number by 4, then adding 3. Work out the number of sticks for the shape that has shape number 10. So if we multiply the shape number by 4 and then add 3, and the shape number is 10, then we have 10 times 4 plus 3. So 10 times 4 is 40, plus 3 gives us 43 sticks. Now Anne uses 59 sticks to make another L shape in this pattern. What is its shape number? So to work out the number of sticks, if we have 59 sticks, we multiply the shape number by 4 and then add 3. So we have 59 sticks equals the shape number times 4 plus 3. So that means the shape number times 4 must be 56, because 56 plus 3 is 59. So what times 4 is 56? Well, if we divide 56 by 4, that gives us 14. So 14 times 4 is 56, and then if we add 3, we get 59 sticks. So the shape number is 14. Write a formula to work out the number of sticks for any L shape. Use S for the number of sticks and n for the shape number. So to work out the number of sticks, to work out s, we multiply the shape number by 4, so that's 4 times the shape number, which we need to write as 4n, and then we have plus 3, because after multiplying the shape number by 4, we add 3. In this tower, two numbers are multiplied to give the number above. And this makes sense because 4 times 3 is 12. Write the missing numbers in the tower below to make it correct. So to find this box here, we have 10 times something is 75. And if we have a missing number in a multiplication, we can divide to find our missing number. So 75 divided by 10 is 7.5, because when we divide by 10, the digits move one place value to the right, so the 7 tenths becomes 7 ones, and the 5 ones becomes 5 tenths. Or if it's a whole number, to divide by 10, we can imagine the decimal point on the end, and then move it one place to the left, so that's 7.5. Now to find this box here, we have something times 3 is 7.5. Again, it's a missing number multiplication, so we can divide 7.5 by 3 to find our missing number, and that gives us 2.5. Now, something times 2.5 is 10. So because we have a decimal one decimal place in our multiplication, we can put a decimal place, so a 0.0, on the end of our answer, and then we can see that this box here must be 4, because we know that 4 times 25 is 100, so that means 4 times 2.5 must be 10.0, or 10. In this circle, each shaded part is 1/5 of the area of the circle. The two white parts have equal areas. What fraction of the circle is one of the white areas? So in the shaded areas, we have 1/5 and 1/5, so that's 2/5 of the circle that's shaded. So we can subtract 2/5 from 1 whole, because we have 1 whole circle. So that's 3/5 for the two white parts, because remember, 1 whole is the same as 5/5 if we have a fraction with the same numerator and denominator. We have 1 whole, and 5/5 minus 2/5 is 3/5. But 3/5 is the area for the two white parts together, and we want the fraction of the circle that's just one of the white areas. So we need to divide 3/5 by 2. Remember, to divide a fraction by a whole number, we multiply the denominator and leave the numerator the same. So the numerator is still 3, and 5 times 2 is 10. So that means that each white part is 3/10 of the circle. So the fraction is 3/10. And that makes sense because 3/10 plus 3/10 is 6/10, and 6/10 can be simplified to 3/5. Also, notice 3/10 plus 3/10 is 6/10, and 1/5 is the same as 2/10. So if we have 1/5 and 1/5, we can add 2/10 and 2/10. And if we add up these fractions, we get 10/10. And remember, if the numerator and denominator are the same, we have 1 whole. And that makes sense because we have 1 whole circle. Here is a recipe for raspberry ice cream. To make raspberry ice cream for 8 people, we need half a litre of cream, 1 kilogram of raspberries, and 250 grams of sugar. This recipe is for 8 people. Josie makes enough raspberry ice cream for 12 people. How much cream does she use? Well, in the recipe for 8 people, we need half a litre of cream, and half a litre is 500 millilitres, because 1 litre is 1000 millilitres and half of 1000 is 500. So in the recipe for 8 people, we need half a litre, so that's 500 millilitres of cream. So we can find the amount of cream needed for 4 people, because 8 divided by 2 is 4. So if we divide the amount of cream by 2, 500 divided by 2 is 250. So now that we know how much cream is needed for 8 people and for 4 people, we can work out the total for 12 people, because 8 plus 4 is 12. So we can add 500 and 250, and that means she must use 750 millilitres of cream. Now, Fred makes raspberry ice cream in the same way. He uses 2.5 kilograms of raspberries. How much sugar does he use? Well, in the recipe, we know that we need 1 kilogram of raspberries for 250 grams of sugar, and 1 kilogram is the same as 1000 grams. So if we double that, 2000 grams of raspberries means that he needs 500 grams of sugar, because 250 times 2 is 500. But we want 2.5 kilograms, so that's 2500 grams, because half a kilogram is 500 grams. So to get from 1000 to 500, we can divide by 2, and if we work out 250 divided by 2, we'll get 125. So we know that for 2000 raspberries, we need 500 grams, and for 500, we need 125. So if we put these together, that will give us 2000 plus 500, so 2500 grams, or 2.5 kilograms of raspberries, and then we can add 500 and 125, and that tells us that he uses 625 grams of sugar. Mina buys 200 grams of cheddar cheese and 150 grams of Edam cheese. How much does she pay altogether? Well, we can see that cheddar cheese is 82 pence for 100 grams, but she buys 200 grams, so we can multiply by 2. 100 times 2 is 200, and 82 pence times 2 is £1.64. So that's how much she spends on 200 grams of cheddar cheese. But she also buys 150 grams of Edam cheese, which we can see is 66 pence for 100 grams. So we can work out how much 50 grams will cost, because 100 divided by 2 is 50, and 66 pence divided by 2 is 33 pence. So now to find 150 grams, we can either add up these totals, or we can multiply 50 grams by 3, because 50 times 3 is 150. 33 times 3 is 99, so she spends 99 pence on Edam cheese. So to work out how much she pays altogether, we need to add what she spends on cheddar cheese to what she spends on Edam cheese. So that gives us £2.63. Now, Seb buys some cottage cheese for £1.35. How many grams of cottage cheese does he get? We can see that cottage cheese is 45 pence for 100 grams. If we double that, that means 45 times 2 is 90, so 200 grams would cost 90 pence. And then, to find the cost of 300 grams, we can add the cost of 100 and 200 grams. So that's 90 plus 45, so 135 pence, or £1.35. So that means because he spends £1.35, he must get 300 grams of cottage cheese. Look at this expression. We have 10y plus 2. When y equals 0.4, the value of 10y plus 2 is an even number, because 10 times 0.4 plus 2 is 6. 10 times 0.4 is 4, and 4 plus 2 is 6, which is an even number because it's a multiple of 2. Write a value for y so that 10y plus 2 is a prime number. So remember, a prime number is a number with only 2 factors, a number that's only in the 1 times table and its own times table. So 3 is a prime number because 3 is only in the 1 and 3 times tables. It only has 2 factors. So let's make 10 times y, because remember 10y means 10 times y, plus 2 equal 3. So before we plus the 2, 10 times y needs to be 1, and 10 times 0.1 is 1, plus 2 is 3. So we can have 0.1 for y. And now write a value for y so that 10y plus 2 is a square number. So a square number is what you get when you multiply a number by itself. So 4 is a square number because if we multiply 2 by itself, 2 times 2 is 4. So we can make 10y plus 2 equal 4. So before we plus the 2, 10y will need to be 2 because 2 plus 2 is 4. And 10 times 0.2 is 2, so we can have 0.2 for our value of y because that gives an answer of 4, and that's a square number.